Have you heard people say that there is no cure for PMDD? Well, that's a myth. And today, in today's talk, we are going to bust that myth and we are going to show you that you can heal your PMDD. If you've lost all hope and if you think that you'll never feel normal again, then this talk is for you because Natalie Ryan Hebert has helped so many women get free from their PMDD, and she's going to share how right here in the talk. So let me bring Natalie in. PMDD Healing Summit, here we go. Welcome to the PMDD Healing Summits, where the world's top experts share hope, guidance, and next steps for your PMDD healing journey. My name is Whitefeather, and I am super honored and excited to have Natalie Ryan Hebert with us today. Natalie is a rapid transformational therapy practitioner and coach. She lives in Denmark with her husband and her 4 children. Oh, kitties. And but she works with people all over the world on Zoom. And Natalie loves supporting people through their weight release journey. She helps people stop smoking, but the issue that is closest to her heart is helping people heal their PMDD. And I am super, super stoked to have Natalie here because if you follow Natalie on Instagram, you have seen how she helps women, how women are raving that she helps them, she supports them in healing their PMDD symptoms. Thank you, Natalie, for being with us today. It is an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much, Charisma. Thanks for inviting me. Really honored.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's dive right in. Could you share a little bit about your journey and why are you so passionate about helping people with PMDD?
Yeah, so as you can guess, I went through it myself. That's why I'm so passionate about it. I know how awful it is. It's like a living hell that sweeps you over kind of a week to 2 weeks of the month, and you don't feel like yourself. It feels like Jekyll and Hyde. So I know it very, very well. Um, but I don't consider myself to have PMDD anymore. I've been free of it for it must be nearly 3 years now. And so what healed me was actually rapid transformational therapy, training in it. I didn't train in RTT thinking that it would do this, but it did. And then I started to understand PMDD more deeply, about what it's really all about. I mean, as far as I believe now, based on what I've experienced in myself and with dozens and dozens of women now around the world. So yes, so that's why I'm passionate about helping people with PMDD.
That makes total sense. Yes. And you said something in there that I want to kind of talk about because I read a lot, there is no cure for PMDD. And I feel like, because I'm also a PMDD hero, I feel like that leaves us so hopeless. It's like, oh my gosh, so I'm going to have this for the rest of my life. So you are saying that we can heal our PMDD symptoms.
We can heal the root cause of the thing that's creating the symptoms. I'm married to a doctor, so he loves that I do the work that I do, because he said, as doctors, all you can do in this case is treat the symptoms with antidepressants or trying to get birth control to maybe level out the hormones in some way, or hysterectomy. That's all that really the doctor can do. They don't have time to work more deeply, which is where I come in. So the way that I describe PMDD and sort of the 3 factors that create PMDD are these. So the first thing is you need to have a cycle. Okay, check. Second is this higher sensitivity, empathy, creativity. Every woman I work with has this, and I noticed this pattern pretty early on. I reckon about 20% of my clients are nurses. Okay, so high empathy. Artists, musicians, artists, lots and lots of clients with this. I'm a singer-songwriter myself, as well as being a therapist, right? So I've got all of the empathy and creativity going on in me. And I think it's this thing, it's like this double-edged sword, because it gives us this greater ability to feel. But not only can we feel others, we also feel ourselves so much more deeply than than perhaps others do.
Yeah.
So you've got these two factors. And then the last factor is trauma. And I want to qualify what I mean by trauma. Trauma is anything you've been through in your life that has left an imprint on you emotionally that is still stuck. And some women I work with, some of the clients that I work with, men and women, because I don't work just with PMDD, have trauma that is just horrific. And then there are others that you think, well, it's not that bad, but for that person, it's left a mark. So I always say it's not what's happened to you that is hurting you. It is what you made it mean. What did you make it mean when it happened? So that's what we go back to in the work that I do. So these three factors, the cycle itself, the higher sensitivity, empathy, creativity, and the trauma with either a big T, little t, basically the unresolved emotional stuff that's still stuck.
Thank you for sharing what trauma, because I know trauma, we all think it's the big things, like you said, but I also feel in my journey, my trauma was like one day my dad forgot to pick me up from school. And that might, not be anything for somebody else. That might have happened to somebody else, but I personally made that mean that people aren't there for me. So thank you for saying that. And I just want to go into that a little bit so that the women and all the people, all the menstruators who are struggling with PMDD, sometimes I know we push this trauma away. Like we're like, oh, I don't have the trauma. So could you speak a little bit more just about the small t and big T trauma?
Yeah. So, for you made that mean I can't rely on people to be there for me. Up until about the age of 7, especially, we're really suggestible. We're making our program for life that's going to keep us alive. That's what the mind is all about. What do you need to know to make sure you live as long as possible, to keep you safe? And as children, we're reliant on our parents for our own survival. Our parents are perfect. In the child's mind, the parent has to stay perfect. It's too scary to make the parent imperfect. So we will always bring it back to ourselves. That must mean I'm not good enough. I'm not enough is the number one root cause of the PMDD symptoms. If you can heal I'm not enough at the subconscious level, PMDD disappears. That sounds
Wow.
very simplified, doesn't it? But when you really get down to it, it's this deep-seated inadequacy and you don't know how to fill it. And when the hormones shift, this inadequacy kind of comes to the surface, and the mask you've been able to wear the whole month is not there anymore. And you feel this, like these wounds are just at the surface, just waiting for any grain of salt to come and go, and trigger you, right? So avoiding triggers isn't healing. We need to heal the wounds so that they don't get triggered anymore. When you heal those wounds over, you can have grains of salt come your way, and nothing's set off. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't create an overreaction that you end up being embarrassed about afterwards. Know those ones, because the wounds have come to the surface, and you don't know that the wounds have come to the surface. You feel justified in that time. The anger feels so justified and real that you lash out at, say, your partner, number one culprit for triggering PMDD reactions. And you think you're angry with them, but you're not. You're actually angry with your dad or your mum or that grade 1 school teacher who told you your artwork was rubbish. There's actually something else back there. That's why it feels so irrational and so strong and overpowering, because it's actually deep childhood pain that is being pushed upon, and then you get a reaction.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you. This is so juicy, and I just want you to know, if I'm like looking down every now and then, I'm a journal and writing person, so I'm taking notes, and I hope that you out there are taking notes too. I hope you have your PMDD healing journal with you. So you were speaking about the root cause. One of the root causes is this I am not enoughness. Are there any other root causes that you can pinpoint, or is that just kind of the main one, the overarching one?
There are sort of 3 that it comes down to. There's I'm not enough, Love is not available, like something is not available to me. Love is not available to me. Money is not available to me. This sort of life is not available to me. It's sort of where you make yourself separate to everybody else. Healing is not available to me. That's another, the available to me-ness is another thing where people make a decision, well, that's just not possible for me. So that's another one. Lack of self-trust is another one I come across a lot. And it can happen so easily as a child, where you have an idea that you think is going to be really good. Like, I'll tell you this story, it's stuck with me. So many client stories stick with me, but one client came to me, she had lack of self-trust. She couldn't make decisions. She was very indecisive. What do you think I should do? That sort of character. And she was tired of not being able to just be able to trust herself. And when we went back to the root, the cause, the reason for why she doesn't trust herself, her mind took her all the way back. She was 2 years old. She was in the kitchen. Her mother was always a bit stressed and sad, and single mother she had, and she wanted to make her mummy happy. Her mum was always upset. The house was messy. So she thought, I know, I'll clean the kitchen floor for mummy. That'll make her happy. So she gets dishwashing liquid and squeezes the dishwashing liquid all over the floor. And she's there cleaning the floor with her little 2-year-old hands. And of course, her mother doesn't come in and say, wonderful, darling, thank you so much for cleaning the floor for me. The mother's already stressed that the house is a mess. This is just one more thing she now has to clean up, and her mother explodes. And this little girl just thinks, how could I have been so wrong? I can't trust myself. I thought this was going to be amazing. Not only is she not happy, she's furious. I can't trust myself. And that's where the lack of self-trust began. She disconnected the trust, the intuition. So that's another thing that then doing this with her, she was able to reconnect it, because she could go back to her younger self and say, sweetheart, it was a wonderful idea. And if you weren't two, the execution of this plan would have turned out way better, but you were two. It's okay that this wasn't, but the idea was great. It was good. You are good. You can trust yourself. So she was able to reconnect to that intuition again at a subconscious level, because we do this work under hypnosis.
Yes.
So
let's talk a little bit about this RTT, rapid transformational therapy, that you do and you use with your clients for this PMDD healing. Can you explain what that is exactly?
Yeah, so it's a hybrid therapy. It combines the best of NLP, timeline therapy, inner child work, hypnotherapy into this one super therapy. So hypnosis is the vehicle, because we need to get to the subconscious. You can be in therapy for years, going around and around in circles, just telling the same story over and over again, crying about it, but never really healing. Whereas RTT, you understand deeply what's in the way. Instead of, sometimes you could go to a psychologist and they go, it could be this, maybe it's because of this. And you're thinking, yeah, maybe it's that, maybe it's because my dad left. Yeah, but you never know. You're just sort of still going around in circles, analyzing and analyzing and analyzing. Whereas in the rapid transformational therapy session, you see it. You go, oh, here's where it began. Oh, I understand now. And you also understand that the belief you've created is made in error. Or that it's actually not true for you anymore. I'm not two anymore. If I cleaned the floor now for my mother, that would be great. So the way that RTT works, we put you into this relaxed state. It's not somnambulism, meaning you don't go to full sleep and you don't remember anything. You remember everything. If someone called your name and said, hey, Charisma, you'd be sort of, yeah, like that's how you are. So you're fully present through the whole thing, but you're able to access a deeper part of yourself that is usually kind of closed for programming. As a child, it's open for programming. So we take you back to this alpha brainwave state, which children are in up until about the age of 7, which is why they learn. They're like sponges. But they also learn all of their programming for life. And some of the stuff that goes in isn't ideal. Stuff like, I'm not good enough. I don't matter. I'm not important. I can't trust people. I can't trust myself. All these sorts of beliefs that go down as protective measures to make sure that you are alive. I find if I express my emotions, I'm punished. Okay, you will never express your emotions again. If I get up and speak in public, people are going to laugh at me. I will never do that again. You know, you get these lessons of how to protect yourself. But then they stick with you, and then they end up becoming like a straitjacket by the time you hit 25, 30. The things that were meant to be protection, much like a hermit crab that crawls into a shell going, God, I'm safe in here. Well, once it grows, it's now completely caged and trapped. And that's how these beliefs end up feeling. So you go into hypnosis. I check that you're in hypnosis by giving you these suggestibility tests. Like I tell you, your eyes are sealed shut and you're like, oh gosh, they really are. I can't open them. Stuff like that. And then once I know you're in hypnosis, then I say, we're going to go back now to the root, the cause and the reason for why you don't believe you're good enough. I don't say for why you have PMDD. I don't believe people have PMDD like they have diabetes. It's a label that we've given to all of these symptoms that you have when you have the three things I mentioned earlier. Yeah. So we'll go back. So I talk with a woman beforehand, with my client, person beforehand, and say, what do you experience premenstrually? Are you angry? Are you depressed? Are you anxious? What are the big things for you? And we take it kind of one thing at a time. So we're going to go back to the root, the cause, and the reason for why you have so much rage whenever, I don't know, you don't feel you're being considered. Okay, that might be the thing. And then we'll go back and the mind will take you back to these scenes like the one I mentioned with the girl on the dishwashing liquid on the floor. And then we put them together like a jigsaw puzzle, put it all together so you can have full understanding. And then I have you undo it by going back to your younger self as who you are now. I actually have the client embody the loving parent. Like you become this lioness. It's like, I am going to go back and get that little girl because damned if she's going to believe she's not good enough. Like it's that resolve in you that goes back and you rescue yourself. That's the beauty of it. It's not me fixing you. It's you. I'm just facilitating that rescue mission. Yeah, so it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. And I'm often brought to tears in sessions, just like, oh, this is so amazing. And once that is done, it's the love, the self-love is reconnected. Because what the issue is, there has been self-abandonment and self-rejection. We think it's our parents that have rejected us, but the real pain is when they rejected us, we told ourselves, that must mean I'm not enough. And now you've rejected yourself, and that is the most unbearable pain because you've lost yourself now. My job is to help people connect themselves again. And that is what makes PMDD disappear.
Beautiful. It's like we're going back as the hero to our child self. And I love what you said about that, every woman maybe has, or every person who experiences PMDD has a different way. Like for me, it was a lot of anger and rage. Some people might go into anxiety and depression a lot. I love that because it's different for every person, how this RTT can help people with their unique combination of PMDD symptoms.
Yeah, we've all got our own box of pain. And what's in that box of pain is unique to every human being, depending on what they've been through and what interpretations they've made of those life experiences. So RTT just allows you, it's like doing an upgrade. It's like you're running OS 1 still, and you get to do an upgrade. You get to, who am I now? What do I know now? And you get to actually deliver all the wisdom you have now to your younger self, so that all that trapped childhood pain is transmuted, it's changed, it's upgraded. And because it's you, the child believes you in hypnosis. Your younger self, that belief can only be changed by you, actually. Because who else is the inner child going to believe but their grown-up self, right? Right. So that's the key to it, really. And then there's a few other tools I use. If there needs to be a dialogue with anyone who's hurt you, we do that dialogue, you advocating for your younger self and saying, getting everything out that needs to be expressed that maybe was never expressed before. It's expressed. So there are a lot of tools. It's a 2-hour process, and at the end I make a recording too, that is a hypnosis recording that you then listen to for 21 to 30 days, because the mind rewires through repetition. So the more you do this, if you watch Joe Dispenza's TED Talk, actually in Tacoma, there's some great imagery of how neural pathways wire and disconnect when beliefs change. And that's what we're doing. We're basically, it's like brain surgery without the scalpel, or organically, just through neuroplasticity.
Awesome. That is so great. I'm going to put the link for that TED Talk down below the interview here. Thank you for sharing that. Ooh, and I love the whole hypnosis part of that, because that was what helped me too when I was going through it. Every night I would just listen all night. I'm like, I'm going to reprogram my brain. So it's interesting to have that validation from you that that is something that you then also have your clients do, and that that is part of the whole healing process. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to read this quote from a woman who went through this with you, and I just want to share this so you out there can hear what is really happening going on. Let me read this quote right here. And she said, after going through your Red 10 program with you, and she was even considering having surgery to get rid of her PMDD, she said,
Yeah.
I just feel like a different person because I'm not held back by the horrible feelings and this negative pattern that was going on every month. It was destroying my life. And she said, for the first time, I can see happiness. That is amazing, because I know the whole feeling of this is destroying my life. So can you tell me a little bit about this Red Tent program? It sounds juicy.
Yeah, so the Red Tent is an 8-week program that I developed, basically with everything I believe helped me to overcome PMDD. It's a combination of rapid transformational therapy that you have with me one-to-one, group weekly coaching, because that women together, there's something really beautiful about this feeling, this lovely validation that you have, because it's a lonely thing to live with PMDD. None of my girlfriends had anything like it, and you sort of just sit there going, what's wrong with me? No one can understand. So and it's not, we really support each other, and everybody's on this journey of healing. It's not a complaining session where everyone just talks about the misery of it. We're beyond that, and this is stepping out of the suffering and into the healing. So and then there's also metacognitive psychology that you do, an online training, which basically trains your brain to not worry or ruminate, and that in itself is very powerful. But like I say to those I work with, you can't just do the metacognitive psychology. It's like becoming a really good surfer of your thoughts. But what happens when a tsunami comes? It doesn't matter how good you are at surfing. And I bet you a lot of women can relate to this. You do all this conscious work and this mindset work, but when that tsunami comes, it's over. You're dumped, you're flooded, you're possessed. So it's very, very helpful. But it needs to be done in combination with the rapid transformational therapy to reduce those tsunamis down to surfable waves, so that then when the waves do come, you can handle it. You've got more control over your thought processes. So that's the Red Tent program. So it's 8 weeks, and they're also, I'm there for support every day over WhatsApp for my clients as well. So in real life situations, something's happened and they're like, and they can write to me and go, okay, this just happened with my husband. And, and I'm able to be that firm, loving mirror, objective as well, who can help them through and help them see it differently. So that's the program that I have, and I love it, and I've been running it now for nearly 2.5 years, and dozens and dozens have been through, and the results of pretty much everyone is like that, what you just read out there. I've got a YouTube channel with interviews with lots of my clients if anyone's interested in looking and seeing the transformation that the women experience.
Oh my goodness.
So
I love the whole community, also that you have a community aspect, because I think that is so important. Like you said, none of your girlfriends had this. And I also felt that I'm like, what is this? Why is this me? What is wrong with me? And when I started going like to, different Facebook groups, it felt like so relieving that, oh, this woman just raged at her husband and this person just totally told their partner off. It made me feel so seen and like I wasn't just this crazy freak. So I love that you have that community aspect in there, because it
Mm,
does help to have other women going through this with you and also maybe cheering each other on or supporting each other.
yeah, definitely. And it's an 8-week journey. So some clients after their first session feel this huge shift and change. And it's really nice because um, they're seeing each other transform week by week, and that's very inspiring. And I will say, look, don't look sideways too much. Your journey is your journey. You may need your big shift might not come until after the second session we have, but it will come. But it's really amazing and inspiring to see, oh my gosh, she looks different. She looks 10 years younger. Sometimes there's a real physical change. Yeah, I mean, some clients as well. My client Erin, she's lost like 15 kilos. I think it's about 30 pounds. She hasn't dieted or anything. It was just all the comfort eating that she was doing to fill that self-love shaped hole. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do that anymore, and all the weight just fell off. So some really fantastic things happen as a result. When you heal that self-love, you come to heal PMDD, but you leave with so much more. And that's why I say I feel grateful that I had PMDD, because the suffering was so bad. I simply had to do something about it. And when I did, I healed so much. And what that has then meant in my life as a whole, in my relationships, in my parenting, in my career. I mean, is amazing. I'm a new person. I'm more myself than I ever would have been had that not been so relentless every month to make me look at it. Mm.
Absolutely. I hear you. I hear you. It's like a wake up call, like, hold up, something's going on. I need to investigate. Could you, so with the, the RTT, your rapid transformational therapy, and your Red Tent program, if somebody is, on antidepressants, or if somebody is going to therapy, trying out whatever works for them, could they still, do this RTT? Is that, because that, could that be alongside it, or would you not recommend that?
Loads of my clients come to me and they're on antidepressants to begin with,
Mhm.
because it's rough. You have to have something to soothe it. I completely understand it. I'm not against antidepressants.
Mhm.
My aim at the end is for antidepressants to be irrelevant. I will
Mhm.
never tell a client to come off medicine. That must be with the client and her doctor.
Mhm.
But the aim is for her to feel solid enough and stable
Mhm.
enough and happy enough that the antidepressants feel a bit redundant. Um, so you definitely, I have many of my clients begin on antidepressants, birth control, a whole cocktail of things.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but by the end, they tend to come off them because
Interesting.
it's not needed anymore.
Wow.
Um,
This sounds so beautiful. I am so happy that you are sharing this with the world. And could you, because this is also about giving people maybe some next steps. So the person that is watching, who is just in this PMDD hell, what could they do practically already? Because I always say, baby steps are steps. So is there something that you could give them, or maybe a shift in viewpoint, something from your perspective that could take them on the next step of inquiry healing, maybe?
yeah. Um, well, I guess if you go to instead of me just trying to give one little thing, I've got a lot of advice and videos and podcasts and things on my Instagram. If you go to the link tree in my bio, there's lots of things that you can start delving into, client interviews that'll give you this, oh, okay, a lot of light bulb moments, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and one client's story might resonate more than another. But that, I think, definitely is a good place to start. And another thing is to recognize that this is a disconnection of self-love. So one thing you can do from today is get a picture of yourself as a little child, put it on the mirror where you see yourself every day, and just talk to her and look at her and recognize you're just as lovable and innocent now as you were then. And look into the pupils of your eyes in the mirror. Find that little girl who's still within you, connect with her, and be her loving parent. And talk to her every day. And tell her good things. If you do this every day, you'll start to feel different. But you have to own yourself again and say, I must love myself. We get this thing, it's very counterintuitive to love ourselves when we're at our worst.
Yes.
But we simply must. It's like if you saw a little girl in the forest bawling her eyes out, stamping her feet, completely emotionally out of control. Would you shout at her? Would you say, oh, for God's sake, stop it? Would you say, I'm so sick of you, you're so weak, I wish I could just get rid of you, like we do to ourselves? Of course you wouldn't. So we know what to do, but we don't do it with ourselves, and we must. The self-abandonment and the self-rejection are the biggest problem. If you just stay and hold yourself through an emotion, it's going to be, the worst part of it usually is all the judgment that we stick on top of the emotion, all the self-rejection, self-abandonment that we tack onto the original emotion that is actually the most painful.
Yes.
So stay and hold yourself through it. And little by little, and, you know, I think practicing exercises in being aware so that you can actually stay present, see the emotion, still feel it, but recognize that while you're observing it, it can't completely become you. And that's another thing. There's lots. I could talk for hours about this stuff, and I do on videos and things all over the place, and podcast interviews that you can find through my Instagram link tree. So that's where I recommend just start digging around there and becoming sort of just open up to this possibility that it can be healed, because it can be. I've seen it over and over again.
Thank you so much. And I could listen to you for hours. And I will put a link to your Instagram because that's where I found you. And I have also dove deep into your YouTube videos. So, yes, go follow Natalie and get inspired. And I think the most important thing is that what you're sharing, Natalie, is that bringing back this belief that healing is possible. There is a way out. So, thank you so much for sharing this. And this is it. We are at time. We are almost there. And I just want to put an umbrella over this, what Natalie is saying, bringing back that self-love and maybe starting to look at the root causes and knowing that healing is possible. Thank you for bringing that message to us. And all the links will be below. And I know that you have had some nuggets here, so please go to the Facebook group and share the nuggets. And Natalie, I would love for you to share some final words of hope. And also, I know you want to share a little bit about your Red Tent program. When is it starting? How can we sign up? Where do we go?
Yeah, so it's full at the moment, but the next cohort, I think there are a couple of spots left for April. So I have a group that's sort of in the UK, Australia time, and then I also have a US, Canada time zone. So sort of covers the whole world, more or less. So that's all. You can read more about the program on my website, which I guess we'll somehow link to below. Yeah, so, and then you can always book a discovery call with me if you just want to ask about it. I like to interview everybody I work with first to make sure that it's a good fit. I don't like to take on anybody that I think, actually, I don't think this is for you. You need to be ready to do this work. But yeah, it's better out than in. It really is. I know it can feel scary to look back on things, but it is affecting you whether you're looking at it or not. Subconsciously, it's wreaking havoc in your life. So I promise it's not as scary as it sounds to go back and and undo things. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Natalie, for taking time, for sharing your wisdom, for putting things in perspective. Thank you for taking time for us here at the PMDD Healing Summit. And you out there, please remember baby steps are steps, and remember to love yourself. And I'll be seeing you. Bye.
Mhm.